Because he didn't really want to defend his atheism.
Yeah, and
That's what it was all
I
about.
would say the same thing. He'll just try to dodge and evade, look for the exit.
Yeah. Well, this is what they do. Okay. Anyone else would like to raise your hand? Okay, Lag, come on up.
Hey, Doc.
Ahoy.
Hi. So I had a question. If hypothetically I were to find a contradiction with the Christian God, would that disprove the Christian God?
No, that's impossible.
What form modality are you invoking?
The existence of the Christian God.
No, you said it's impossible. In virtue of what is it impossible?
The existence of the Christian God.
I'm not disputing that the Christian God exists. I don't understand why it's impossible.
It's metaphysical modality.
Yeah,
Metaphysical
because
modality?
there cannot be a state of affairs that contradicts the existence of the Christian God in my worldview.
No, okay, sorry. Our understanding of him could be different, though, right?
Well, the Bible, God has written what He is like in plain language in the Bible. Okay, are you a Christian?
Yeah.
How long have you been a Christian?
About 3 months now, 4 months.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
How did you become a Christian?
Well, I realized that the atheist worldview was incoherent.
Yeah, that's what made you a Christian.
Well, sorry, what was that, E?
Yeah, I'm beginning to smell that you're lying to me.
Okay.
And I don't think kindly when people lie to me.
Well, you can ask John. I've told him before that I've been Christian, or that I've recently converted to Christianity.
Okay. Are you the guy who was told me previously you were a deist?
No, I don't even know what deism is.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
No, so if my understanding in the Christian God contains a contradiction, that would disprove that understanding of the Christian God, right?
Not in my worldview.
Not in your worldview? If my understanding is flawed,
in my worldview, the Christian God is the fundamental, absolute, ultimate existence from which all things derive and depend, so that there could not arise a state of affairs that is incongruent or not commensurate with God, the Christian God being ultimate.
Sure, but I could not have the same concept as you, right? And that if you point out the contradiction in
well,
my
then you wouldn't be then you wouldn't be a Christian then.
Well, I think a lot of people would disagree there, right? Would you call Ontangelo not a Christian? Yeah.
Well, I think that Otangelo was forced to admit that his reasoning was inconsistent with his Christian and biblical worldview.
Sure, but he would still be a Christian, right? If his reasoning was inconsistent.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you hold to the God of the Bible being absolutely and completely true?
Yeah.
Okay, then there cannot actually exist a state of affairs that in actuality is not commensurate with the existence of the Christian God.
That was somewhat deceptive answer of me because I haven't read the Bible fully, right? So I wouldn't say the God of the Bible, but my understanding of the Christian God is that he is...
Do you believe in the God of the Bible?
Well, I haven't read the Bible, so I don't know everything within the Bible, but I do believe that...
Okay, the God of the Bible is omniscient, omnipotent, always truth revealing. He's completely benevolent and loving, righteous and just. Okay, and he's always truth revealing. Okay.
Yeah,
he is the ground of all being. He is the ground of all being from which all possibility depends and derives. So, in that biblical worldview, since God is the ultimate truth from which all other beliefs or I should say, all other truth states derive and depend, there cannot exist any truth state, if you will, that would be contradictory to God being the ultimate truth. That's a biblical position. If you don't accept that, then you are rejecting the biblical position.
Okay, if that's what you meant by the Christian God, the God of the Bible, then I attribute those attributes to him. But my question really is that if someone were to find a contradiction, or could point out a contradiction between these terms, attributes, would that...
It would not be an actual contradiction. It would be a misunderstanding on their part.
Well,
okay, do you understand? Are you starting, when you reason, now that you are a Christian, so you say, are you always explicitly or implicitly starting that the fundamental truth from which all things derive and depend upon are the Christian God?
Yeah.
Then there cannot in actuality exist any state of affairs which is a true contradiction to that Christian God. Only where somebody imagines that it's a contradiction.
Well, okay, I agree with you there, right? But if someone were to point out the contradiction, which is impossible in your
then it wouldn't be a real contradiction.
No, sure, I agree. You and me agree on that.
It would be a misapprehension.
Yeah, but let's just hypothetically understand it to be a contradiction. Let's say that
no, that would be not coherent.
Okay.
If my fundamental starting point, my ultimate reference point for everything is the God of the Bible, that means all true state of affairs derive and depend on the ultimate truth, which is the God of the Bible. So there cannot coexist a state of affairs that contradicts the God of the Bible. Okay, if we hold that the God of the Bible is real and is true, then logically there cannot coexist a state of affairs that in actuality contradict him.
Yeah, and
if you introduce it as a hypothetical, that is not coherent.
Okay, sure. Let's say I understand it to be a contradiction. I'm mistaken, right? But I understand it to be.
You're holding to an incoherent idea.
Oh, okay.
Suppose somebody comes to me and they said, God just spoke to me and God lied to
me. Yeah, that wouldn't be.
I know that's not coherent, because I'm holding to my most fundamental truth is the Christian God. Therefore, if that is my ultimate reference point, right? If that is my most fundamental belief state that is irrevisable, right? Then there can't something come along that would be inconsistent with that which is irrevisable. Now, if somebody wants to make a case that the Christian God does not exist, they can do so. And if they think that they can be successful from that and then build upon it, that there are further states of affairs that would contradict the existence of God, but they're going to have to show that which is ultimate and is not the Christian God.
If they're just disproving the claim on the table, then they don't have to provide anything else, right? They could do an internal critique. And
sir, you're not getting this. Okay, you keep on beating the tom-toms here. Okay? If you hold to the actuality of the Christian God, there cannot be in actuality anything that contradicts the Christian God. Now, if somebody wants to come along and lay down what it is that is ultimate, right? You're going to have to show what is ultimate first in order to show that the Christian God does not exist. Do you understand that any proposition that you're going to use to mitigate the Christian God will either have to be ultimate in and of itself or derive from that which is ultimate that is not the Christian God in order to even attempt to lay waste to the Christian God?
Yeah, and an internal critique would use the Christian God, right? So an internal critique uses the Christian God as the ultimate?
You're not getting this.
Okay.
I keep on explaining this over to yourself. You keep on trying to bring in these little sub-context and saying, well, that would be inconsistent with the Christian God. Okay, well, that reasoning, that sub-reasoning, that sub-hypothetical, from whence does it ultimately derive? So what they're going to be employing is the law of non-contradiction, right?
Sure.
Okay, what ultimately would institute and secure the law of non-contradiction?
The Christian God.
Okay, then the hypothetical is incoherent.
How so?
Because if the Christian God exists, then nothing can contradict him.
Okay. Well, if you're just saying that the Christian God is not applicable for contradictions, then I guess that's an answer.
Look, in order to do an internal critique, you're still going to have to be reasoning out of some model of reality. So if I do an internal critique of Mormonism, Islam, anywhere else, I'm still operating from the principle that the Christian God is, the principle that the Christian God exists, and he's laid a world by which we can reason about things.
Wait, if you're doing an internal critique, you're not, right? Then you're accepting the premises of an argument and still.
Or listen to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Does all reasoning have its ground and root in the mind and the purposes and plan of the Christian God?
Well, I believe so, but a Muslim wouldn't. But I believe so.
I don't care about their false beliefs.
Okay, but that's fine.
And what I'm saying to you is, doing an internal critique, is it a process of reasoning? Okay. There can only be one worldview that provides for reasoning. So the only worldview by which an internal critique is viable is the Christian worldview. See, you are not thinking like a Christian. You're thinking like an unbeliever. When we talk about an internal critique, you're trying to borrow with certain presuppositional type of reasonings while abandoning its foundation, which is the Christian worldview.
Maybe. How do you define internal critique? Just so we're talking
about internal critique is that we take a look. We start from our self-consciousness, our sense perception, and a basic worldview that we hold to, and then anything that is presented to us, including other worldviews, we begin to examine whether it is consistent internally. But that still is going to require that we're operating from a worldview that is viable.
Well, I understand an internal critique.
Is there, listen carefully.
Yeah.
Is there any alternative worldview other than the Christian worldview that is viable in order to do an internal critique of any other worldview?
I don't believe so.
Good. Then we're done. Thank you.
Well, sure. It's just that
we're done. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Empty, come on back up. You see, folks, the mental gymnastics that he goes through, especially when people are feeding him DMs to what to say. And by the way, I didn't take for 1 second that this guy was sincere that he was a Christian. Okay? Go ahead, Empty. Empty, go ahead. We brought you up the last time. You need to unmute your microphone or we're going to send you back down. You got 30 seconds. Okay. Rodi, previously you have said that the universal structure, whatever that is, negates God. What is the universal structure?
I think I explained it before. So for me to explain what is the universal structure, I need to lay out its properties. So let me begin by lay out its properties.
Rodi, stop beating around the bush. I asked you a straightforward
I'm
question.
not.
Okay. What is the universal structure?
Yeah, so the universal structure is this type of an entity that all things derive and depend upon.
Start again. I didn't hear the first part. What specifically is the universal structure?
Yeah, so the universal structure is the type of an entity that all things derive and depend upon.
Yeah, I'm having
are
trouble
contained.
understanding you. Listen to me. You got to speak slower because I'm not understanding you.
Okay, yeah, no problem, Darth. So the universal structure is an entity that all things are derived and depend and contain within it.
Okay, what is this entity?
I'm explaining the properties. It is something. It is the entity that entails all the things and also entails itself. In virtue of
what is it
being,
is this entity personal or impersonal?
it is impersonal because it is not a mind.
Okay, and how do you know that?
How do I know that the universal structure is not a mind?
How do you know that this entity is not an agent?
Oh yeah, because agency requires mentality, and mentality with the capacity to do free will, to act upon itself free will, is a complex structure.
Yeah, you're gonna have to dumb this down. Listen to me. You're gonna have to dumb down this gobbledygook. Okay. An entity that is ultimate cannot be an agent because, and if you don't simplify the gobbledygook, listen. If you resort to your usual gobbledygook, I will send you back to the audience. Okay. How do you know specifically and clearly that what is ultimate, okay, is not an agent?
Okay. So if you don't understand something, just stop me and just let me elaborate on the thing that you don't understand. Is that fine with you, Darth?
I think I made my demand clear that if you speak in gobbledygook, I will remove you to the audience. You have a long history of speaking in gobbledygook. How do you know that what is ultimate is not an agent?
Okay, so I know that the ultimate is not an agent because agency implies complexity in regards to its components, right?
Why does agency require complexity?
I will explain it right now, but before that,
right. How did you determine that agency requires complexity?
Yeah, because agency requires you to have beliefs, desires, and the capacity to act upon all of those things. You are interrupting me, Darth. Can I please finish explaining?
Yeah, I'm trying to get clarification. Okay.
Yes.
Now, do you know this? Do you know that the attributes of what is eternal by virtue of pure reason?
Sorry, I think it is a transcendental necessity.
Okay. Now, can you please not dodge my question? Do you know
I am not.
this by pure reason?
No, I don't know it by pure reason. I know it because it is a transcendental. Why are you interrupting me, Darth?
Because pure reason, okay, if you're going to do the shtick you do all the time where you bicker, I'm going to remove you, okay? Now,
but you are interrupting
when I say pure
me.
reason, listen to me.
I'm being polite to you, Darth.
The ice is thin, and it's beginning to crack, okay? Now, when I ask you, do you know this by pure reason, I mean it by your thinking alone rather than by experience or induction.
Okay. So let me answer you, but please don't interrupt me.
If you don't
I
answer
know
the
it.
question I just
I
asked,
am
I will
answering the
not.
question. Please don't interrupt me, Darth. It is rude to interrupt people. So I know it in virtue of its transcendental necessity. But if you want me to ask what is the justification
Is
for
that
that,
is that an
that
answer?
will
A
be.
yes, that it's by pure reason?
No, I already gave you the answer, which
Okay,
is
this is the
no.
third time I've asked the question.
And
Do
this is the
you
third time
know
I'm
this by?
answering
Okay,
you.
all right. Okay, you're gonna do your same shtick you do all the time. Goodbye. Okay, this is his shtick. He likes to speak in gobbledygook. He likes to pretend like he's answering the question when he doesn't. Okay, very simple. Do you know this by pure reason? Yes, I know it by pure reason. No, I do not know it by pure reason. Okay. When he says it's transcendentally necessary, that's just another statement of universality. Does he know that by pure reason? You see, his answer was in fact a cleverly devised dodge, and that's the shtick that he usually does. He's very deceptive and evasive. Okay, if anyone wants to raise your hand and come on up, you're free to come up.
I mean, I think that it's necessarily that all worldviews which are not God are going to be self-referential. So there's no way for him to answer anything other than it's self-referential, even by establishing that he knows that it's necessary. That
See,
fact
notice
that
he
knows that.
did not want to answer. He did not want to answer the question, but he wanted
Yeah.
to pretend like he was answering the question, which is deceit. Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
And in his view, an agent cannot be ultimate because of complexity. Well, why does an agent have to be complex? Is he getting that from pure reason, or is he using his experiences or induction? I mean, this is how ludicrous his position is. That by pure reason alone, he can tell us about what the characteristics of the ultimate are, when the ultimate is not an agent and is not communicable. Okay, the agent, how does he know what the agent's attributes are? How does he know what is ultimate that is not an agent, what its attributes are, when it's not an agent to communicate? How do you have access to it? So do you know what is ultimate by pure reason?
Well, I think he would have to, on some level, say revelation, but that revelation would be so limited due to it not being
he couldn't
agent
say
that it
revelation.
couldn't be
He
real.
couldn't say revelation because non-agents don't engage in revelation.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The form of revelation he'd have to appeal to would be so limited as to be null because of the nature of the being he's suggesting.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with Rodi. He has the gift of gab and BSing and spewing verbal gobbledygook, and he wastes an enormous amount of time. And I've dealt with him on literally dozens and dozens and dozens of occasions. I'm not about to have him waste my time again. How many times did I ask him, do you know this by pure reason?
I think 3 times.
Do you know this by pure reason? Do you know this by pure reason? And he starts talking about transcendentally. Well, that's not answering the question to me.